All right, there we go. Hi, good evening. How you all doing? I am sitting here wide awake. You're probably sitting there looking, what are you doing here at like quarter after 1 in the morning doing a live stream? Well, as I've mentioned many times before, I have insomnia, something terrible. So I was up late last night. I woke up extremely late. I intended to do this stream at about 8 o'clock tonight, and I have no idea what actually happened to my day today. I know I zonked out a couple of times. I know I made some food. There was an electrician that had to come check something downstairs here, and uh, and that's all I remember of my day. I don't know what else happened. I literally sat down thinking it was like 3 hours earlier, and thought I should get this going, and next thing I knew it was 1 o'clock. I knew I had to look up a few things, and sometimes I get a bit of tunnel vision. You know, when you go to look up some things on the phone or on the computer, and you switch to looking something else and looking, and you keep going, and next thing you know, 3 hours have gone by. Like where did the time go? And I think that's kind of what I'm experiencing. And I think part of that is due to my insomnia. It's throwing off my entire sense of time. And now I'm doing this at 1 in the morning, and I could sit here and do this for a couple hours. I feel like it's 1 in the afternoon. I'm wide awake. I'm having a decaf cup of coffee here with me, just because I like to have something while I'm streaming. And I like to have a hot drink, especially considering how cold it is out there. Anyways, I see I have a couple of people who poked their head in already. Hello, whoever you might be. Welcome. I needed a topic or something for tonight, and I know I got the other camera working to do physical media, and I will be going back to that, but I'm returning back to my tablet tonight because I wanted to go over something specific. And because I was looking for what I was going to talk about tonight. I had no idea. I just knew I needed to keep making videos. And I watched a couple of videos this afternoon of some artists who I do like. One was making a comic book. He's been writing a funny little comic book, and he was laying out the page and showing how he does it, and he shows how he lays out the pages. And it got me thinking about something, because I don't want to name him, because I like the guy and I like his art, and he's kind of funny, and he's been working so hard. And but I don't like how he lays out the comics. And I thought, my background was animation, cartooning, caricatures, illustration, that kind of thing. I wasn't big into comic books, but I did learn a little bit about it, mainly through other friends who have done comic book art, and why they do the things they do and how they lay out a page, and the formats in which they use and how they choose to use it and how they make it work compositionally. And so that's why I thought I'd maybe go over how to lay out like a comic book page, and why you do it, why the industry does it the way they do it, and even independents do it the way they do. Hello, Kevin. How are you tonight? It's nice of you to pop in. I'm going to be kind of just yakking about this. I don't know who else is there. I don't think I've got one other person watching. So I've opened up Clip Studio. And I've opened up Clip Studio because if you're an artist, and if you've done any kind of like anything to do with comics, you know Clip Studio is the way to go over any other program. I don't know, Photoshop, Affinity, whatever program you're using. If you're doing comic strips, Clip Studio really is the way to go on that, and you'll see why shortly. But I'm going to show you how I lay this out. So let's. Oh, I don't like this layout. 1 second. That's a little better. So follow along, Kevin. I know I don't know if you do any art or any drawing or not, but if you have any questions, feel free to chime in. And I'll probably, I know this is really late. As I said, I'm insomnia ridden, so I know I'm not going to get many viewers at 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time. Maybe some early risers in the UK, or some people out west who might be up late. because of West, it'll be 10, quarter after 10. So a lot of people, a lot of artists, when they lay out a comic book page, and particularly the couple that I was watching before, were working pencil to paper. And this still applies, pencil to paper, even though I'm using a digital tablet. What I'm going to tell you applies to whether you do it digitally or whether you do it straight pencil to paper, right? I've opened up what would be an 8x10, and I know that's not the right ratio. It's not the right ratio for what they do for comics, because when they do comics on paper, first of all, they work double size because it gives you more space to work on. They work double, and then they scan it and they reduce it. He was on briefly, but Matt's super exhausted tonight, and he had to crash early. He is so tired. I think he's just had so much going on in his mind and so much happening that he says he couldn't even like focus on the game. He was so tired. I talked to him very, very briefly, and he said he was probably going to go to bed early because he is so tired. He needs to get some sleep. I think he's had a lot on his mind. Oh, my posture is horrible. That is not good. He's had so much on his mind, and I think he needs like a break. That guy needs to kind of take a mental break from everything. So where was I on this comics? Yeah, he'll be okay. He just needs a bit of time just to relax. I think he needs a bit of time to kind of step away from everything. Anyways, I don't want to lose too much track of where I'm at with this, because I got everything fresh in my head to talk about this, so I want to keep going. I should have looked up comic books in the industry. When you're getting them printed, are specific sizes, and I don't remember what the sizes are off the top of my head. I think it's like 11 by 17. And I have somewhere, they're buried away, the large sheets that are pre-laid out that you can draw right onto. And I don't know where they are because I've moved and everything is like buried and I have no idea where anything is. So at least I've been working digitally anyways. And as I said earlier, I don't have a lot of experience with drawing comics. I was going to do one. I had an idea for something I've had for years in my head that I thought I'd turn into a comic, and I probably won't pursue it as a comic because it was never intended to be a comic. Super quick. It came out of a game I played years ago, and I had this silly idea for something I thought would be really terrific as an animated series. And I knew I wouldn't be able to produce it as an animated series. Everybody kept telling me, make it a comic book, make it a comic book. And as I tried to write it, I realized that the stories, the dialogues, the gags in it, the flow of it was not working as a comic. I couldn't do the story I wanted to as a comic book, and it didn't feel right. And I says, who knows, maybe I'll try and pitch the idea one day and have it made as a series. I don't know if it ever will or not. But I might pursue some ideas, just animating some little sequences from it. Who knows? But as it is, but in the process of doing that and trying to lay out a comic, I really kind of researched a lot about laying out comics. Comics are not too far off from doing storyboarding. Storyboarding, the only thing is a couple of differences. Storyboards have to be the ratio that you're going to see on the movie screen or your television screen, and so they have to remain that size. Comics can expand however big you want it to. If you need something to really emphasize, you can make it larger, you can make it longer or narrower. You can change those boxes any size that you want, but if you're doing storyboards, they have to be consistently on this size. Also with storyboards, because you're basically laying out a film, you can draw as many boards as you need to tell a portion of that story, even if it's something that happens within a few seconds. You can lay that out. You can actually spell every little tiny motion in that so that it's all super clear for the director, for the audience. if it takes 10 panels to show something, you can. Whereas a comic book, even though you can change the size of your panels, you have 1 page to tell a specific portion of that story, and it has to all get out and all be on that page. So you're limited on the number of panels, and it has to be done through dialogue and those little boxes in the corner that tells a bit of the story, right? You've seen those in the bottom of the page in like a square, and it'll describe something going on, and then the dialogue will carry part of it. But man, in 1 page, you've got to tell a piece of that story. Even the page, it has to have a beginning and a middle and an end. Whereas a storyboard, it's not being printed as a book. It's going up on a wall or somewhere where it can be laid out and just to spell out the story, right? So those are kind of the differences between a storyboard and a comic book, but otherwise they're very much the same. You have to compositionally put your characters in there in such a way that that it makes it interesting, so that it makes it interesting to the audience and who is reading or going to be watching that movie. And so a lot of the camera positions, your point of view, your rule of thirds, which I can go into a little later, all of that's still exactly the same, whether you're doing a comic book or whether you're doing a storyboard, right? When I watched a couple of people doing this, I don't know if I'm scared that I don't know if they will see me. I don't know if he follows me or not. I know a couple of people do this and they follow me, they're going to get mad. Listen, if you are doing a comic book and you like doing it a specific way and it works for you, far be it from me to ever interfere with how you do that. Okay, I will never step on any toes. If you like doing something, if it feels right, if you think it works for you, whatever you're doing, zip. I wouldn't say anything. Take this as something to just consider. Look at it, consider it, think about what I'm saying. Maybe it might work for what you're doing. It's like, oh, he's got an idea. Maybe I should start trying to do it this way. If it works a specific way and it has a certain psychological effect on the audience that's reading it, maybe it's something to take into consideration. But if you don't like it, no offense to you, I still appreciate you as an artist. I think if you're taking a pencil and you're putting it down to paper or any kind of media and you're creating something, there's something really special and magical that happens when you're doing that. And I don't care if you're an artist or not. I'm going to be doing a whole session as art as therapy. And I'm going to be doing another thing on that later, because I think everyone should go out and buy a few art supplies, sit down with some paper and make something. Not even digitally. I think not even outside of Procreate. I think people need to physically create something on paper. And I'll get into that another time, because I think that's something really happening can really affect you in a good way mentally to create something. Anyways, so as I've seen people lay out the comic, they sit down, they'll rough it out. You can rough it out on a sheet of paper, but what I've seen them do is they'll get a ruler, and I'm going to cheat a little bit and do this, and they'll draw out like their comics like this, right? They might even go straight across. They might do one here, and then they'll keep one panel longer, and they'll go like this, right? So it follows, boom, 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 boom. So a couple of problems with this is that first of all, boy, which one should I start with? This is kind of a bit of an issue, especially considering you're drawing straight lines here and you're going right to the edge of the paper. You don't want this. It's like called like tangents, right? You're going corner to corner, and the problem is it forces your eye to go zoop right in here, and you're missing all the wonderful magic that's going on in the panels, because it's almost like these arrows pointing in right to that spot. So that's kind of not great. You do want to break it up a little bit. After all, like I said earlier, you're doing a comic book, and you're not limited by a specific ratio size, like a storyboard panel, right? You can change the variance on that so that you can work with the characters and emphasize things in the story. Now, what is the other big issue I have with this? What could it be? What could it possibly? What do you think is the issue with doing this? If this is a blank sheet of paper, let's pretend I'm not doing digitally, and all this around here doesn't exist. Just this piece of paper on a table, and you're drawing this with a pencil. What is the problem with this? You can probably almost see it right away. There's no spaces. This is just a single line that's dividing these up. And it causes run-in. It causes your eye doesn't want to divide them. If you have something where a character is standing, or let's say they're standing here, and there's the ground, and then he's maybe talking to something way down here, and it changes to a floor view up here where we're looking at this thing, whatever, maybe he's talking to a bug. I don't know. And right. And so he's talking down here, and your floor moves up here. Do you see what's happening here, right? It's breaking this up really, really strangely. Your eye is running into this, and it makes it difficult because your eye goes left to right, back down to here, to here, to here, to here. And it doesn't break up your flow. It's feeling like one single thing. And so, one idea is you can make these lines a lot thicker. You could like make, thicken them out a lot more, right? And that can help. But you also need space around the outside. You want to work within a panel box, right? So let's go back in time here. All right, back in time to the beginning. All right, and let's go back to adjust our pencil size here. That's fine. I'm going to cheat a little bit. You can you can take a ruler, and because I'm not going to put a ruler on my glass screen, you can draw. Let's suppose we're just roughing it for now. We're going to rough it. All right, so we're trying to get an idea. I don't even have what I'm going to draw yet. I don't even really think about what the hell I was going to draw. So you want to start thinking about those boxes. And you'll see, too, a lot of things what comics like to do today, especially Marvel, I think, likes to have, like, let me go back. They'll have, like, a huge splash taking up almost the entire page or even half the page. I saw one where it actually, the whole top part was a splash, and which is a full image all the way covering the whole thing. Oops. And what did they do here? Then they broke it up with another panel here and another one here. So it broke it up, and then there'll be something else happening in here. Not particularly big on that. It works, but it was a full bleed to the edge of the paper. And I'm not big on that. I think that gets too busy. Marvel really seems to like to do that. I think DC does that too sometimes. But it seems to be a way that they like to do it, and I'm not thrilled about it. If I was laying it out, I would keep spaces. And those spaces in between your panels, and let's suppose we change the size of that. They call them gutters. And they play very much into the composition of that page. Oh, fantastic. Good for you. Congratulations on a new TV. That sounds amazing. And the gutter you can do a lot with. You can do anything with this. let's suppose I'm going to go rough in a page like this. I have another one at the bottom here. Now, I have this wide gap, and I could put in a little text box in here that tells part of the story, or maybe gives some information to the audience that could help set up the gag or tell a story, etc. Right? Random. What I'm talking about here is comic books and graphic novels. When it comes to, why am I out of focus? Stop doing that, Logitech. When it comes to comic books or little comic strips, you can use you can use equal size boxes. We're kind of used to that. I think our brain has been set up to that with newspapers for years and years and years to tell that 4-panel gag. But if you ever seen them where they have the weekend comic strips and they have like a larger layout where they're in color, do you remember those? Do you remember on Saturdays we used to get like a comic book in full color, and there were pages where it wasn't just 4-panel black and white. Now they could have like 6 dozen panels, and it was always Peanuts on the front. Peanuts always got the front page, and it would all be laid out differently. It would be like different size panels. They were great. I miss those. Newspapers were expensive. We discontinued. I remember my folks a couple of times starting had a subscription of a paper delivered, and I loved getting the Saturday paper. It was so much fun. I didn't care about through the week, but Saturday's newspaper was great. Full comic book. One page was puzzles, and there'd be sections, recipes and movies, and an entertainment section that was, you got all your information. It was the internet before the internet. Now, if you're doing a graphic novel, I suppose you could do this as a comic book too. This space in here, all this white space, doesn't have to be white. When I was laying out my little comic that I was going to do, it was a space adventure. It was a comedy space adventure. And so I thought that when, and I was going to lay it all out in something, what was it called? Comic Life. Which originally started as just a kid's fun app that they could drag and drop photos into like a comic book splash page. And I'll open it up later. I still have it, but realize that there's actually a lot of professional use you can get out of it. And they started developing it more and more. It's super cheap. Look for Comic Life, put out by Plask, Plasq. And they're really great. You don't draw in the program, but you can take your drawings and drop them in. It's fantastic. And one element that they had is that you could put in a background in here that would fill up the space in behind, and you could put in like space with stars and planets. Or if you had, let's say it was a pirate adventure, you could, in the background, just be this hint of like a sky and colors that might reflect the topic of what you're doing, like an island brown, some green or something, right? You could put something in that space so that it would it's like a little bit of a psychological trick, especially the colors that you choose to use in there can really give that comic scene a mood, if you will. Sometimes if you're doing a graphic novel, you could break chapters up that way. On that chapter would have this certain background, the next chapters would have a different background. So there's things you can do with that space, right? The other thing, though, the reason you want to work within this is for composition purposes. First of all, your page compositionally should be interesting to look at. So when you open up that next page, the whole layout should catch your eye, but it shouldn't be drawn anywhere particular. In fact, the compositions within the panel should make you follow your eye in a certain direction, right? It should make you, because we are used to reading left to right, top to bottom. So we read it like a book, right? So compositionally, these panels, without anything in them, should look interesting. It shouldn't just be like this simple squares. Uh, that page in and of itself should have some sort of interesting layout to it. What this also forces you, the artist, to do when you're laying out a page is you're going to zoom in and you're going to work just within this panel. If I'm starting to draw, I need a frame of reference, and I'm going to set up this frame like this, and this outline it encloses that space that I have to work within compositionally. There's no runoff to the edge of the paper. There doesn't feel there's a space right here, so it's not just a single line that's dividing me over. It makes this here a whole separate thing, and my brain blocks all this out. It causes me to focus just in here. So as an artist, it makes me work within this space. Why are you not there? That's why I think it's important that if you like making comic pages, I know this can be a little more expensive. I recommend working larger. Now, I understand that if you're working on paper and you're going to like that large comic size paper, that's harder to scan. Most scanners, unfortunately, only do 11 by 17. Sorry, they don't go up to 11 by 17. They do 8.5 by 11, which I think sucks, and you have to pay a lot of money. Oh, my friend Steve is calling. How about that? I wish you wouldn't do that. Sorry about that. I forgot my friend was going to call. Boy, he's really trying to get through. I'm going to have to decline it. Sorry, Steve. Give me a minute while I text him here, just real quick. Anyways, yeah, you want to try and see if you can get 11 by 17 paper, and if you can get it, actually, you can scan with your phones. There's a way you can do it, and I know it's hard to keep your phone level on the top, but there's a way that you can scan them, and you can do a full 11 by 17 sheet of paper and arrange it so it's flat and everything's even properly, exactly the way you've worked on it. And there's a trick to doing that. And that maybe I'll do another time. But if you can, work double size than what you're used to working on. And it gives you so much more space and gives you so much more freedom to do your drawings. There, I told him I'd call him back later. Hopefully he gets his text. And one day what I'd like to do, and I'll save this for another stream, even the way you arrange your characters compositionally within this box can keep a flow going that helps push it to the next panel. And you want to work within shapes. So if you have, whether you're looking down at a character, you notice that everything works within, like, if a character is standing here looking up at something in this triangle, and there'll be another shape here where a character will be coming at them, and it's they work within certain shapes within that. And if you can figure out those dynamic shapes like that and how that arranges into the background, how it ranges, with your background, you'll get a really nice, it helps give you a really nice flow to both the panel and your page. And when you start, and when you pull back and you start looking at how this flows and how it's going to go into the next panel, this one I might actually flip because this motion is going this direction, right? This guy's coming down this way to this one. So I'm like, instead of that, because this guy's in this action down this, going this direction, should go the other way. because then it forces your eye to go down into here. So if you look at this, right? So let's see, I'm going to take rectangle here. Let's take this, right? And let's see if we can edit. Can we flip that horizontally? That's canvas. Flip horizontal. Oh, there. Okay, that's good. Okay. So now, again, whoops, go back to the pencil again. Stop that. You have this character is looking this way and this guy looking this way, but because there's such a directional force going this way, it forces you into the comic and leading you into the next panel. To see how that works so much stronger than the other direction as opposed to leading you out of the page, falling off the edge. No, it leads you back into that page. Now, what I've been telling you so far is how you would lay it out on paper. This is if you're drawing physical pencil on physical paper on your tabletop. I'm working in Clip Studio today. I open this as opposed to opening Affinity or anything else. And you know I don't use Adobe. Don't like them. That's for another discussion. The wonderful thing about Clip Studio, Clip Studio is a wonderful thing, is that it has built-in comic book layout pages, and they're brilliant, absolutely flipping brilliant. And the other thing I didn't even touch on too is also you have to take into account your dialogue boxes. You want to work those dialogue boxes into the composition as well, and they should also work within the composition of your page, and you have to leave spaces for that, yada, yada, yada. I think that's kind of basically straightforward. But let me show you, and I've done this before in some lives before, and I'm going to do it again, and I might just do a whole proper video about it, this is illustration. Here you have comics, and you don't even need the comic pages. You can. There's comic and what's this one? And show all comic settings, which gives you a little more deep dive. I can never get this right. I need to play with this a little bit more because when I get this, you're working within the most inside panel. So you've got all this blank space. The edge of your page is actually this first one here is your paper page, I think. This is your space, I believe, within the comic. I'd have to kind of look into this a bit more, but it's a bit weird. I'm not thrilled about it. If I go to the basic one, file, new, comic, I've played around with the settings on this and I kind of screwed it up. It's still kind of the same thing. You don't necessarily have to do this. You can go into illustration, and I'm going to do that first, actually. And I'll show you why, because you can still set up the page properly and still do all the stuff I want to show you. So this is an 8x10 again, I'm sorry, but it's fine. Everything still applies. I must be boring. I had a whole bunch of people watching earlier. Now they're all gone. I think it's because it's too late. If you have to leave, I understand. It's really late. I need my comic book panels here. It's somewhere in Clip Studio in here. There's something that shows your comic book panels. Give me just one. That's textures, 3D. There's your 3D assistance. There's some stuff I downloaded, saved. Oh, here we go. All these different panels in which you can drag and drop in. And if I take one and I bring it in, now here it's forcing it to the edge of the page, I think because there is no inside line. Now if I do this, if I set this up, does it go within that? No, it doesn't. Okay. There is a way. In fact, There is also, you can take a single panel here and you can make your own page. So I can bring that in, and where's my arrow? You can actually play with the size of your panel, and it's being difficult right now. I apologize. But there is a way you can actually bring this in and just make oh, that's really well, it's really distorting it. Okay, you can see it's leaving a blue around the outside, but anyways, this is I apologize. Maybe I need to practice this a bit more. You can. I'm not used to using this one, anyways. Anyways, you can. There's another way you can just drop the panel straight in, so it's a straight square box. Let me go back though. Let me go back to the other one that I was using, and I'll just kind of blow it up. Get rid of you. That is very useful though, even if you're just doing a single page illustration. Maybe I'll come back to that after. But let's go back to new. Let's just go to standard comic. I just don't like all that space. Anyways, okay. So work within here. We'll do this for now. You'll see anyway. So I can take a set of panels here and I can drag that right in. Now a couple of things to take note here. What's just happened? So you have your comic page, and let's say I don't like that composition. I want this first panel to be a little bit wider. You can actually take this. You can take them and drag them and change the shape. And it's free-forming it, and I don't know why. How do I adjust that without free-forming it? That's really frustrating. I know there's a way you can do that, and it'll drag the whole, and it's not doing it. You're supposed to be able to grab the edge of it and drag it and pull it, and it changes the size, and it's not doing that. You stupid thing. Why are you not transform? Okay, well, I use the transform key. Okay, that works really good. Just click on transform. That'll do it. So look at that. There's you can change the size of your panels, and I want to adjust this one. Now notice this is white and everything around it is blue. That's because you're working directly with this panel. And if you notice over here, what's happened in your layers, I hope you like layers, because if you're doing this, you're going to have a shit ton of layers. But let me tell you something: if you can keep them organized and keep track of them, you will get some fantastic results, and it'll make your life so much easier if you're working with a comic. But if you look here, each one is masked out, each page, right? And so if you want to change the size of this one, I'm going to find the one here, which is this one. I want to, apply transformation. Yes. So I'm going to go down to this and go through transform again. Scale. And hold the shift. Oops. No, I guess not. Don't hold the shift. And I can bring that over. And notice how it also gives you, automatically gives you gutter space. It lays all that out for you. Boy, you're being difficult. I want that to match the one down there. That's better. Right, so now I have a wider space, and it's my first panel. Now, I think because this is made, Clip Studio was originally designed for manga, and it's thinking right to left, because in manga in Japanese they read backwards. So you notice the panel, the first one is this one, and then the second one underneath is this one. So you can either rearrange them. I'm not going to bother. I can still figure out which is which, right? So notice how you got all these red X's through it, which means you're not ready to draw on it just yet. So if I was to select a pencil, can't do that yet because you're not really drawing on anything yet. So if I want to start with this first panel, I'm going to, under here where it's add, come on, lighten up. It's basically add a raster layer because we're working in rasters. So there we go. It added it right underneath this one. And that's a page. And you're going to add lots of layers. Your penciling, your inking, your coloring, everything can build up under this. And as you can see, now you notice the colors change too, right? It's gone to a lighter color, purple. So if I'm going to sketch something in, it keeps me within that. It won't let me go outside that panel, right? And let's suppose there's a character here. I'm not going to go into too much detail with this. And he's talking with somebody over here. And there's your dialogue box, and he's kind of going, hey. And now we're going to go to his reaction. Maybe cut to a close-up. So we'll come up to this panel, which is this one. Now we've highlighted this one. Can't draw on anything yet until we add a layer underneath that one. Now you can draw on it. And so he's like, he's got a bit of a close-up. And he's really mad. He's got frizzy hair. And maybe up top, erase that out so that we can put in this. And he's like, what? This will be a little arrow. Right. And you can go on and on like this, right? So again, I'm drawing in here, and I'm not going outside those lines. It mats it out perfectly for you. And now I'm going to come back, and let's say you've sketched it all in and you want to ink it. I'm going to come back to this one, and you notice I've got the pencil layer here. It's now just works the same way as doing any other illustration. Just I'm working under. Notice it's all under this folder. You can collapse this, and now it's all inside that folder, so it helps kind of keep it organized for you. And now from here, I'm going to add another layer on the top. What did you just add? That's weird. Hold on 1 second. It should just be a normal layer. Yeah, sorry. And I'm going to lighten this one a little bit because I'm going to ink it, and I can grab an inker. And if I had more of a detailed sketch, the stabilization's way up. I know. I'm sorry. I'm going through this. Hi, Chrissy. How are you? Nice to see you popping in. I'm old, and I've been doing this for a long time. So I'm kind of, I've been drawing for quite a while. But, there's nothing saying you can't, if you have Clip Studio, it's a really fun program, and it's not that expensive. For anyone out there who wants like a good drawing program, I will put Clip Studio over everything, and it's not that terribly expensive. Is there something going on there with that? There's something really going on with this for some reason. Stop screwing up on me here. I'm not sure why the pencil keeps conking out now. I'm not too keen on that. And you can zoom in. You don't have to work this big. You can zoom right into this too. Maybe that's what I need to do. This, for some reason, the pencil, the inker keeps dropping out. And there's also some really amazing tools for making your like your balloons. Oh, they're way over here. Why am I picking it over there? So if I want to add in a balloon, it's got this already built in right over here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so you can see this. Watch what this does. This is really cool. You pick your balloon type that you want, and you draw that in, and it already gives you that. So, and if you want, I'm going to put in the arrow as well. It picks the balloon tail, and it connects it for you. So I can add it, and it connects that. And if I want that bent, I can grab this, and it will actually, there is ways, there's an option to give it like with a spine. Oh, the spine. Oh, I got it on, should be a spine, so it should, width of tail I can adjust. So let's go back here for 1 second. Oh, that's it. So if I go so far, lift it, put it down again, I can bend it and you tap it until you double tap, right? I probably should have made that a little bit wider. Tap it, double tap to finish. There you go. And now if I want to add in text, I click the little A, and it will add a text directly above that. I don't even have to make another layer for it. And believe it or not, for comic books, they don't use Comic Sans. And I was like, Comic Sans, it's just automatic. You think it's going to be that. They never use Comic Sans. Let me see if I can go through my font here. The one they use, I can't think, it's a really weird name, and I'll find it here. It's the one that had like recently used. Oh, there it is. Adam Warren. Adam Warren. I like the Pro Bold. And I can go. Whoop, that's really big. I'm just trying to find the right size for this. There we go, and I can grab it and I can move that. Actually, if that did go right in there. That's odd. Okay. Maybe in that case, I didn't know it was going to do that. Normally it adds, like if you're doing an illustration, it adds a thing right over it. So I'm going to do that again. And we'll move that over. That's fine. Okay. I'll pull that out. It's weird, if I add a layer, the blank layer, then it'll add it above it. So, but you're getting the idea here anyways, right? And now I can move on to the next. And if I want to, I can color this one. So let me get rid of that weird delete layer. You got a sketch, because you can eliminate you can hide the sketch, but keep it. So that's the ink, sorry. Hide the sketch like that. And now we're going to add, and name them too. I should put this in ink. Name your layers. sketch, add a blink. I don't want to be too long at this, but as you can see, like I'll go up here, I can put color. I spell color with a U because I'm Canadian. And then from here, like you can just do it the normal way you do it. The ink, I can make that a reference layer, and the color then goes in on a different layer. So and I have a bunch of open gaps, so I won't be able to actually completely do that. But you can see here too, you can color it by hand if you want. Technical difficult day. I run into those every day, every time I turn this thing on. So that gives you the idea. You can keep working with in the layers all through here underneath this panel, as many as you need. And, as long as you've got a good computer, it'll handle that. But this gives you an idea anyways, if you're laying out comics, how you're going to, how you can make a page look so much more interesting and creative by doing it, by making the panels separately. You will save yourself a lot of headaches. Your comic's going to look a whole lot nicer, and it will look a whole lot cleaner if you draw with an individual panels on your page and not just break up the page with straight lines. If you're going to do that, I recommend making them about triple the thickness and make a border around it as well. Especially if you like, a lot of people like to open it up in Procreate, and one day I'll do something and make a line drawing, and I'll open up in Procreate and draw it and color it in Procreate, and I can go through the steps that I would do in doing that. Procreate doesn't have this. It doesn't have a thing to lay out comic pages like this. In fact, I don't like making the panels in Procreate. If I was going to do a comic in Procreate, I'd rather draw the panels and make the panels in a different program and import them in. It does have that thing where you can make a square, and then you hold it and it straightens the lines, and you touch it and then it'll straighten it into a box, and then you can play with that. I don't like doing that for laying out a comic book page. I'm not thrilled about that, but I would rather ink some boxes on the page, or make it in this. Just take the blank page that we started with before I added all this, and then export it out. Right? Just make a whole new page, and then drag in one of these, export that out, and you can as like a JPEG, and then throw it in Procreate, right? Excuse me. Ain't that the truth, Chrissy? Ain't that the truth? It does indeed. I run it just tonight doing this. I'm running into problems going, I'm not sure why it's doing this. I don't know why my inking was giving out for some stupid reason. Anyways, I hope that helps. Again, if somebody's watching who likes to draw comics, and you like just breaking up the page with straight lines, again, far be it from me to tell you how to do something. That's how you like to do it, and you've been doing it that way. You keep on doing what you're doing. I would recommend, again, making the lines a bit thicker. Make it so it's like you've got black separation, right? Because I think I'm saying a lot. I got to stop doing that. I think that just helps the viewer read it a little easier. And that's what I would do. But but if you look at most comics, pretty much just about all of them, they leave that gap in between, and that gap you can do so much with. It makes it easier to read. It gives you space to put something in behind, so that you can set the mood of your page. You can use it for dialogue boxes, or to fit in dialogue boxes somewhere that helps tell a story. All that good stuff. Now, newspaper comics. Do they have something like that here? That are just 4 panels, exactly the same. And I used to really like doing that. I loved reading Peanuts growing up. And I used to have the little novel-sized books. You don't see them anymore, but they were about the size of a novel and about the same number of pages, but they were just usually 4 panels inside. Or I'd have a panel, then an open one. It would still be the drawing that would fit within a panel, but they wouldn't draw the panel, and then have another one with a panel, and it just broke it up so that it caused your eye to, and you wouldn't think about it at first until you notice and go, wait a minute, there's no panel on that one. But they would do that sometimes, right? But they would have 4 panels, and it was set up so that it would tell a gag, like telling a joke. It sets up, and he would say, hey, and what about this? And sometimes if you look carefully, the whole story is told within like 3 panels. And then the fourth one is usually a reaction to it, or an added gag. There used to be something called Three Nuts. If you look at that, it's Peanuts, but spelled 3. And what they did is they took the Peanuts cartoons, they removed the last panel. And what it does is it actually removed the humor. The gag is taken off the end. And they ended up being a lot darker, eerily dark, creepy, something just like, oh, like that's really unsettling. But that fourth panel was the gag that would lighten the moment and break it, and then make the gag out of this very sad story. But yeah, if you ever get a moment, look up Three Nuts. Archie, you want to know the funny thing? I think they're actually really entertaining to read now. I was never big into comics. I read some, but not the ones that everybody read. I wasn't big. I read a little bit of Spider-Man, I think, for a little while, a little bit of Hulk at one time, but I wasn't big in reading like Batman. I don't know why they didn't. I think it's because I wasn't more into movies and monster movies I was watching, so I wasn't big into comics. Gold Key, I read some of like The Devil Dinosaur. If it had dinosaurs and monsters, then I was on board with it. But I was not big into comics when I was younger, but I've come to appreciate them as I've gotten older. I think there's such an interesting art form to it now, and but comics in general, and I had a bunch of them growing up, but I never kind of got into them. But I loved those little novels, those little. I read Peanuts. We had The Wizard of Id by Johnny Hart and Brant Parker, and BC, which was just Johnny Hart. If you remember BC. Hagar, I used to read. Scott Pilgrim. Okay, Scott Pilgrim. Is that anime? Because I know they had the movie. I knew some people that read that too. But these little panels that were basically the cartoons that were printed in newspapers years before, and then they got printed in the comics. And I thought it'd been so much fun to be a newspaper comic strip artist. But I know you need to they all had like one story they were telling, right? Like Charlie Brown, or was Charles Schultz wrote the Peanuts, Charlie Brown. That was his thing. I don't think he wrote too much else besides that. Lynn Johnson wrote For Better or Worse. That was her story. She wrote for years and years and years and years. That was hers. Oh, that's too bad. I heard it was actually pretty good. I was excited for the fact that it took place in Toronto. Oh, that's such a bad idea when they put like 5 or 6 books into one movie. That's no wonder. Break it up. Yeah. Or make a series or something. Yeah. Because it was what's his name that did it too, who I really like. Edgar Wright, I think, directed, and I really like Edgar Wright. For Better, yeah, I used to like them too. But usually one artist, and I always thought I didn't want to kind of get locked into one series. I thought it'd been fun to work on some different things. But I loved reading all those comics, Marmaduke and Hagar, and but particularly the big 3 that I had was the Peanuts, the Wizard of Id, and BC, and those are the ones we see. Even my dad read them and used to get a good chuckle out of them. They were funny, some really great stuff. BC, it's his grandson draws it now, but I guess they were very religious. So the downside is that now the new BC is very, very religious based, which I find kind of ironic. But anyway, because they were supposed to be cavemen. Right? So, but yeah, I loved that 4-panel comic story. I used to really, and I thought one day I would do that, but then I kind of got more interested in animation. But yeah, that's kind of the long and the short of it. If you guys are all right, I think I might call it there, if that's all right. I've been going for about an hour and a little over an hour, I think. I should call my friend back. And one day I am going to, and because I used to work in layout in animation, I do plan on doing some lives where I'll show how to do the traditional style of doing layouts for traditional animation and how we used to do them in school and how I used to do it when I started in the industry. And that's a lot of fun, actually. I can show you how we do the different layers, start with the background, show what the character is going to do within that scene, how we have to break that up, and what department gets what layer. It's all, yeah, I love doing layout. I never really did animation. I wasn't great at animating. It's the funny thing, but I loved the pre-production of doing the layouts, drawing the background, drawing what the character has to do within the scene, showing the indication lines, the match lines, and all that fun stuff. So I've done some lives on it before, and I'm going to do more again. And I'm going to take some scenes from different animated shows and kind of show how that works. I have a segment from a show that was called, it was a British show produced in Canada. It was really funny. Bob and Margaret. That was great. I love Bob and Margaret. I wanted to work on it, never did. But I'm going to do a few scenes from that. So, yeah. I wanted. So I drew the backgrounds. Show that I worked on was Rupert the Bear, and I drew a few of the backgrounds. I drew it, but then those drawings go to the painter, and I was supposed to go work at another studio on doing background painting, and then the job kind of fell through on like the first day before I even left the house. It fell through and I never got to do it. But I love painting backgrounds, and I love doing that in school and when I used to go to Sheridan for animation. But I love painting backgrounds, and I'm so out of practice. Like, years went by and I hardly did anything, and now I'd love to go back and sort of relearn to paint again and do background paintings again, because it's not there, and it bugs me that I've lost that ability because I didn't keep it up. So even Matt was saying he loves Rupert, and I've done some drawings from the show for him because he said he grew up, he loved watching Rupert the Bear. But it was a fun show to work on because the layouts were super easy, even the big complicated ones, which it was easy to draw because it was like a storybook, so everything could be very freehand and loose, and it was great fun to work on, actually, and the people there were really good, and I enjoyed that job. It's a shame that didn't continue. But anyways, I'm going to call it there for the night. Anyways, so thank you all for sitting in. Chrissy, Kevin, I'm so glad you came in and said hi. And I do have lots planned. I'm going away on the 22nd. I'm going to my aunt's. I might be doing some lives for my aunt's, but I'll just be sitting and chatting. It's going to be hard to kind of do some drawing. But then when starting in January, I got lots planned for that. So including my art is therapy classes, I'll be starting that as well. So or series, I should say. But yeah. All right. Take care, Chrissy. Good night. Kevin, good night. And thanks again for watching, and I will see you all in the future. Take care, everyone.